Thursday greetings to you, church. Pastor Lisa and I are coming to you from down the Disciple Center. We want to have a conversation today, partly because we celebrate the fact that the recent news from the district superintendent on behalf of the bishop is that Lisa and I will be reappointed to University City Church for another year.
Yay.
And we think, it is for such a time as we are facing in our country is part of the reason why God has lined us up to be here together for another year. I know we've been using the word pandemic over the last couple of months, referring to this COVID-19 crisis that we're in. But you know, for over 2 centuries, we've lived through a pandemic of racism in this country that we have not adequately addressed. So today, I want to say, Pastor Lisa, you can't speak for African American people any more than I can speak for all white people. But as a white male, with privilege that I have come to understand over recent years, including some of the work we've been doing here recently, I can speak for myself. And I can say to you very personally, as an African American female, that I'm sorry for the racism that our country has had over these years. But now, I'm sorry for the intense, the recently aroused pain that you must be feeling with the killing of George Floyd. And I just want to say I'm sorry for what you're having to go through. And I wondered if you'd be willing to share with us today something. I mean, we can get to what we're going to do to respond, but what are you feeling right now in these last few days?
Well, Pastor John, thank you for this opportunity to talk to you to share about the situation that we're facing today. I, for the first time, am feeling a sense of hopelessness. This is my first time after all the events that have occurred over the years that I've really felt breathless. The heaviness of what I saw on TV. It was overwhelming and has been overwhelming for me to the point of not even wanting to come out, not wanting to even be a part of the Christian fellowship. It's really bothered me. I have 4 brothers, and so that raised concern for me, because an incident which happened to George Floyd could happen to my brothers. And so I thought a lot about that. I thought about what can we do? I mean, really do. We've had enough talks. We've had a lot of protesting. But what after the protesting? Not much really happens. And so I feel that, yes, our pain is because of the anger that we feel, and our anger, our anger is long-standing, I would say. Yeah. But I still believe that in spite of all that, there's a time for healing. There's something we can do to bring healing after, number one, we acknowledge that, the racism is real. It's real. And the injustices, they're real. And I think it's time. The time has really come for us to do the work that we've been talking about. No more talking. I think it's time for us to do the walking now.
So I'm aware that this is way more than these recent incidences in Georgia, in Kentucky, in Minnesota. That what we're seeing is just the latest expression of this failure to address racism in the country, the institutionalized, the systemic racism that many white people can't even see. You know, if all we're seeing right now is these riots and all this violence, then we're not looking deeply enough into what's going on. And so if racism is a learned sin, do you believe it can be unlearned? Can it be dismantled? Is there really anything we can do about it?
For me, I see this learned sin as something that grew from our past. And today, presently, we all have grown from what the past has been. I don't believe that you and your wife have taught your children hatred, to treat people differently because their skin is another color. So already, that shows that this racism can be what is the word? Can be deleted. Can be we can grow from it.
We can eradicate it.
Yes, and so even going forward, it's the work we do now. It's the work that we engage, the for real work that we engage now, that will impact the future. Where there'll be little to no. I'm not silly enough to believe that all racism is going to go away, but I believe that we can learn how to handle it a whole lot better, and I believe that we can learn how to get rid of most of it if we start this work right now. Yeah.
Well, I've heard several of our white members have asked me, well, okay then, what can we do? And I'm thinking, I'm smiling because I'm saying, ooh, we're already doing something.
Yes.
Remember last fall when you and I and Judy Besler and Fred Saki, two white people, two black people, we were all, the four of us were together in a district-wide cohort on racial healing and social justice. And we came out of that with some motivation to continue in this work. Then you and I got invited to be a part of a Duke Endowment sponsored program across the state of North Carolina called Disciples of Welcome, where again we were trying to bridge the divides that exist in our culture. And we worked on a project. I mean, we got a little bit sidetracked or postponed due to the pandemic, but we were talking about things like People's Supper going forward, study groups going forward, trying to figure out how to align ourselves together to face racism and bring healing to the country. So that gives me encouragement, and I'm wondering if there may be some people in our church who would like to know more about that and be willing to, get into the next cohort this coming fall, because I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing that again. You want to say a word about any of those things that?
Well, the thing I was sharing with one of the members, the one thing that I'm most proud about, if you can be proud about anything in this season, is the fact that this church, University City, is not the church that has to now scramble to do something now that they're protesting, that everybody's protesting. We're not the church that has to scramble and get this group together or that group together and let's have some conversation. Over a year now, we've been having these important conversations, and I believe that we have been sincere about where we want this to grow. And I would just love to invite others to come and be a part of that, because boy, it's hot now. But in a good way. And I believe that there are others in our congregation and community who have lots of thoughts and ways to help us to move forward in a deeper way. Yeah, so I'm encouraged.
Reminded of Martin Luther King's image or the phrase of beloved community. And so right as we were about to stay at home, we were forming, tell us a little bit about that beloved community team we were trying to get moving.
Well, basically we wanted to start with part of which is something that's part of what we say always is part of our mission, and that is to love our neighbor, to come one person, to engage one person at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So the beloved community is really based on that, along with what Martin said.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for us to walk together. It's important for us to reach beyond ourselves to help others, and whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's basically where we're going. But we also had thoughts and conversations about what kind of work can we do to impact policies. How can we engage some of the local entities of Mecklenburg to make the lives of others better? And so it's a lot of work. It's fresh, it's new. We're doing some work, but that's kind of what it is.
We've had some really good dialogues between the men of Ebenezer and University City that Bert has helped to spearhead for us. We've had some study of a book called The Multi-Ethnic Church. Ken Beasley and Cindy have been leading us to think about how we can become more welcoming and diverse in our congregational makeup. But in addition to just being inclusive and welcoming of people, how do we begin to organize to speak the truth about injustice to the powers that be, whether in the church or in the state or in the local government? So we got a lot of work to do.
We do.
But I want to maybe at this point just kind of wrap up this conversation and look to you, church, and ask you, given where we are in this country right now, where we are in this community, what is it that you want your church to be? What is it that you want your church to do as we respond to the pain and the suffering that is just unleashed in these riotous actions now? We obviously condemn violence and looting. That's not the right way. But we know the right way has to do with following Jesus. So how would you like us as a congregation following Jesus to make a response? Maybe, Pastor, if over the next few weeks we could continue some conversations and get into a little more depth about strategies and ways we can work so that long after all the TV coverage dies down yet again and the world goes on, we've not forgotten and we're still working to eradicate this racism. So we need to have an anti-racist kind of strategy and action, a ministry action plan.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm committed to it.
Well, I'm committed to it. I want to offer this one thought. As we continue to speak truth to power, I want to encourage everyone to know that yes, when we're speaking the truth, sometimes it's painful. Don't take that personal.
Yes.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Look a little bit deeper and understand that while we're in pain, the best medicine is to work through it. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.